Imagine getting handed the golden ticket, the moment every golfer dreams about, and still walking away from it because they told you to ditch your camera. That's wild, but that's exactly what went down when Grant Horvat, one of the biggest digital names in golf, straight up turned down an invite to the PGA Tour's Barracuda Championship.
It's this new thing that everyone's trying to figure out still, but it's amazing and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, I've been so blessed to be able to do this. I think that we got 4 years ago. And so it was already kind of proven. It wasn't this like huge risk right off the bat. But yeah, it was, it's definitely still, saying you're going to go to YouTube, moving out to Dallas. It's very risky, but there was a good house out there. It was a content house, and that's what I moved into.
If you love the untold stories and drama in golf, make sure you subscribe Golf Mode TV channel, and we've got the inside scoop every week. This whole situation flipped the golf world on its head. A 26-year-old YouTuber who never teed it up in a PGA event suddenly became the name everybody whispered about. And for the old school crowd, that feels like a real threat popping up fast.
TikToks, and so it was doing really well, and I was like, wow, this people care, and there's a little niche here on TikTok. And when YouTube came about, and I met Garrett, he used to come to my college all the time, GM Golf. He's another very big YouTuber, kind of pioneered the way.
Grant Horvat came up around golf, but not around the fame that follows it. He grew up in Michigan, where his father, Steve Horvat, worked as a golf pro, laying the foundation long before the internet put a spotlight on his son. Now you'd think Grant had a golf club in his hands the moment he learned to stand, right? But nah, he didn't even touch the game until he was around 12 or 13. Before that, he was all about football and barely cared about golf, even thought it was boring at first. But with a dad who lived and breathed the sport, the game was always sitting right there waiting for him. And eventually, curiosity finally pushed the door open. At 13, something switched inside him. Grant walked up to his pops and said he was ready to give this golf thing a real try. That's when everything changed. Long grind sessions, learning the basics, dialing in grip, stance, posture. His father taught him the whole blueprint, and together they built his swing from the ground up. After high school, the family packed up and moved to Florida, where Grant enrolled at Palm Beach Atlantic University and played 4 full years of college golf. But even then, he still wasn't chasing some big pro fantasy. In one of his YouTube videos, Grant openly said he never really wanted to turn professional during college. But right before his final year, something, or better yet, someone, flipped his whole direction. He crossed paths with Garrett from GM Golf, a channel already blowing up fast, and the chemistry was instant. They clicked right away, and suddenly the usual path didn't look so appealing anymore. So instead of grinding through Q School or fighting for checks on mini tours, Grant made a move nobody saw coming. He linked up with the GM Golf crew, the squad known for trick shots, wild challenges, and that raw behind-the-scenes course life. And Grant slid right into that world like it was meant for him. He blended in instantly. That smooth swing, clean look, and calm confidence made him stand out without even trying. It didn't take long before people realized he wasn't just another face in the group. Then came Good Golf, the viral machine that changed YouTube golf forever. From squad matches to hopping around the world checking out new courses, their videos pulled in crazy numbers. Millions every time. And at a moment when the PGA Tour was losing the casual crowd, Grant and his crew were pulling those same viewers back in by the millions. But right when it seemed like he found his lane, he shocked everybody and walked away. In late 2022, Grant announced he was leaving Good, and while the split wasn't messy publicly, fans felt it like a band breaking up. So the second the news dropped, the internet did what it always does, react and speculate. Some supporters backed him, while others started questioning Grant's loyalty. Why bounce now? Nobody had answers, so rumors started flying fast. People claimed money was involved, others swore there was tension behind the scenes, and a few said Grant just wanted a fresh lane. But instead of feeding the noise, he kept things quiet and pushed forward, locking in on building his own brand with a calm confidence that made the whole situation feel even more mysterious. What fans did notice was how quick he bounced back with new content. Grant didn't disappear, he upgraded. His solo videos started hitting, his collaborations stayed solid, and his presence in the golf creator world didn't fade for a second. But behind all the views and the clean energy, one question kept circling. Was this move about freedom, business, or something deeper? The mystery around Grant's exit kept the conversation alive, and suddenly, his every step felt like a chess move being watched by millions. As Grant built his new lane, doors started opening that most creators never get near. Bigger brands called, major golfers noticed his rise, and companies realized his influence wasn't just internet hype. It was real reach, real trust, real impact. He wasn't just a YouTuber anymore. He was becoming a face of modern golf culture. But with bigger stages came bigger expectations. People wondered if Grant would chase the professional path again or keep dominating the digital world. And just when the speculation started to cool down, a new twist entered the picture, something nobody expected. Grant received an invitation that most golfers would frame on their wall forever. A real PGA Tour event, the kind of opportunity players grind their whole lives for. It was a moment that could rewrite his whole story, but only if he said yes. The invite was for the PGA Tour's Barracuda Championship, a legitimate shot at stepping onto the same stage as seasoned pros. Fans thought this was the moment Grant would finally cross over and prove he wasn't just a camera-friendly swing, he was a competitor. The hype was real, and his supporters were ready to watch him tee it up against the best. But that's when the story took its wild turn. Before Grant could lock in his spot, the PGA Tour hit him with one condition: leave the camera at home. No filming, no content, no documenting the journey that built his whole career. For a traditional pro, that's nothing. But for Grant, that's like asking him to show up without his voice. His camera is his platform, his work, his identity in the golf world. So suddenly, this dream-level opportunity came with a cost, the kind most people didn't even see coming. And the decision sitting in front of him wasn't simple at all. Why not just fix things and stay? To some people, walking away from good looked like he was stepping out on the group that helped put him on the map. But Grant had his own reasons, and he broke them down in a video on his personal YouTube channel. He said this was the hardest decision he had ever made, and you could tell he meant it. Grant explained he needed a new lane, one where he had full creative control, his own schedule, and the freedom to shape his content without limits. And a big part of that move was wanting to head back to Florida and spend more time with his dad, something he wasn't willing to push aside anymore. Grant wasn't just trying to pump out videos, he was trying to build something that was truly his, and almost instantly it paid off. His YouTube content started pulling millions of views every month, and brands from apparel to golf tech lined up fast because he had earned real trust with his viewers. Fans felt like they really knew him because Grant wasn't just dropping content, he was letting people into his world. From detailed swing breakdowns to chill range sessions with his dad, from course vlogs to honest talks about pressure and burnout, Grant wasn't serving surface-level entertainment. He was giving access, a version of golf that felt real, raw, and straight-up refreshing. Before long, Grant Horvat turned into one of the most recognizable faces in online golf. His YouTube channel shot past 1.4 million subscribers, and every video pulled in massive views like it was nothing. His reach wasn't hype, it was real. Then out of nowhere in early 2025, something wild dropped into his lap. Grant Horvat received a sponsor's exemption to the PGA Tour's Barracuda Championship. A legit invite, a serious opportunity, the kind of thing that looks perfect on paper. It was a massive opportunity, a real doorway into the highest level of professional golf. But there was one big issue staring him down. The PGA Tour's media policy straight up blocks filming during tournament play unless it goes through their official crews. And for someone like Grant, that rule cuts deep. His whole platform is built on showing his journey, documenting his real experience, staying connected with his audience. So for him, this wasn't negotiable at all. No cameras meant no vlog, no authenticity, no real connection, basically no Grant. The only reason he even got that invite was because of his YouTube presence and the loyal audience riding with him. So if he was going to step into that event, his people had to be part of the moment that was non-negotiable for him. And once he explained everything, the reaction went crazy. The video pulled in hundreds of thousands of views fast, but the comments were what really hit. One fan pointed out how wild it was that the PGA invited him because of his YouTube influence, yet wouldn't let him put the experience on YouTube at all. What should have been a celebration turned into a loud message. The PGA might want the clout, the fresh eyes, the digital buzz from YouTube golfers, but not if it means giving up even a drop of control. And Grant's decision didn't just surprise the PGA, it grabbed attention across the whole golf world. In that moment, Grant made something crystal clear. He didn't need the PGA to validate him. He was going to move on his own terms, his own style, his own lane. To understand why this shocked the PGA, you have to understand what Grant represents. He's not some golfer begging to get into the system. He's a creator showing you don't even need that system anymore. That shakes the room. The PGA Tour has always controlled the spotlight. Who gets it, how long they get it, and what they're allowed to do with it. But Grant owns his story completely, no middleman. And here's the wild part. People are watching him, a lot more people than most tour pros can say. And that right there is why he's seen as a threat. He carries influence they can't control. The PGA has spent decades shaping golf's image, polished, traditional, controlled to the millimeter. But Grant stepped in with a camera, a clean swing, and a personality that didn't need their approval to shine. And that right there is what shakes the old system, because he proved you can build a massive golf audience without ever touching a tour tee box. What the PGA didn't expect was that someone outside their world could pull in bigger views than many of their own players. Grant's videos hit millions consistently, while some tour pros struggle to get that kind of attention even after winning events. Grant didn't wait for the spotlight. He took it and brought the audience with him. So when he turned down that Barracuda spot, it wasn't disrespect, it was a message. He wasn't abandoning opportunity. He was protecting the identity that made him valuable in the first place. And that move hit the industry harder than any viral trick shot ever could. To the golf world, Grant's refusal wasn't just a no, it was a warning shot. It showed that the new wave of players, influencers, and creators aren't chasing the same validation older generations did. They're not begging for a seat at the table anymore. They're building their own tables with bigger crowds and louder voices. Grant basically said, "If you want me, you want my platform too," and that shook the room. The PGA has always had the leverage, but for the first time, the leverage shifted. A YouTuber proved his audience had more value than a one-week exemption, and fans loved it. Many called it one of the boldest moves they'd ever seen from a creator in golf. Others said the PGA needed to evolve if they wanted to connect with the modern fan, the one who watches YouTube more than TV. Grant didn't create the shift, he exposed it, and the sport felt it immediately. But the real twist came afterward. Even though Grant declined the invite, the noise around him didn't fade. It skyrocketed. People who never watched golf suddenly knew his name. Traditional media picked up the story, influencers reacted, pros chimed in, and the debate kept growing louder by the day. Some argued Grant should have just played anyway. Others said the PGA needed to loosen up and let creators bring the sport into the modern world. And through all the chaos, Grant stayed steady, sticking to his values and his brand. And that's when it became obvious. Grant wasn't just a YouTuber who turned down a tournament. He was the face of a bigger conversation about what golf looks like now and what it should look like going forward. Because whether the PGA likes it or not, creators like Grant are shaping the next generation of golf fans. And this time, the spotlight isn't theirs to control. Because if more players start moving like Grant, the PGA loses its grip on the whole storyline, and they know it. But to keep it real, the PGA isn't clueless about this digital wave hitting the sport. They backed Netflix's Full Swing series, boosted their social media game, and even relaxed dress codes to let players show more personality. But under all those surface-level tweaks sits a much bigger problem they still haven't solved. They want the attention, but they want to own the story too. They want new faces, but not faces that move too independently. They want the sport to feel modern, just not modern in a way they can't control. So when Grant turned down that Barracuda spot, it exposed that whole contradiction loud and clear. Because if you really want the next generation, you've got to let them talk in their own language, not hand them a script. So now the real question becomes, what happens when the people with the biggest audiences aren't tour pros but creators? Because that's where golf is heading fast. And whether the PGA likes it or not, the spotlight is shifting toward personalities who connect, storytell, and keep fans locked in, not just those who make cuts and chase prize money. Grant showed that influence doesn't always come from trophies. Sometimes it comes from impact, and that impact hits harder when millions of viewers ride with you. So suddenly the PGA is in a strange position. They want the buzz these creators bring, but they don't want the independence that comes with them. Meanwhile, Grant is proving that creators can shape culture, boost interest, and actually bring new fans into the sport just by being themselves. And that scares the old guard, because it means the power they held for decades is slipping fast. And the wildest part? Grant didn't even touch a PGA tee box to make all this happen. So now the tension becomes impossible to hide. The PGA wants a younger audience. They want fresh energy. They want relevance, but they still want full control of the product. And creators like Grant don't fit inside that box, because their whole value comes from freedom, personality, and unfiltered storytelling. Grant's decision wasn't just personal. It turned into a mirror held up to the entire golf world. It forced everyone to ask, why is a YouTuber more connected to fans than half the pro field? Why does his content feel more alive than some televised broadcasts? And if the PGA truly wants to grow, can they afford to block the very voices bringing new fans to the sport? These are the questions the industry can't dodge anymore. Because Grant didn't create this shift, he revealed it. And once the truth is out, you can't stuff it back into the old system. If you love the untold stories and the real drama living inside this sport, make sure you subscribe. Golf Mode TV has new heat every week. What matters more? Old school prestige or new age connection? And the real question, can the PGA keep choosing the old way without losing the next generation entirely? Because Grant isn't the last of his kind. He's one of the first. More creators are already mixing competition with content, building full brands without waiting for approval from any legacy institution. And that shift is only getting louder. Grant Horvat might never lift a tour trophy, and he might never play Augusta or St. Andrews in an official event, but he's already accomplished something just as powerful. He built a loyal, growing audience that doesn't care about tour status at all. They care about the game and the way he makes them feel connected to it, and that connection hits harder than any leaderboard. And that right there is a real threat to golf's old guard.